Can we talk about text, subtext, and context? What does each item mean?
Yeah. Oh, that's a big subject. Text, subtext, and context. So ultimately, it is about a character wanting something, right? Every story is about a character wanting something and then facing a conflict to get it, whether they get it or not. So when they want something, they have a desire. That desire is expressed through subtext. If I want this glass of water, I'm going to take the action, right? So the subtext is that you can infer I'm thirsty, or I'm looking for some sort of like physical distraction to keep my hands busy or something like that.
And the gulping is part of that too? Maybe,
Sure.
Maybe there's, I'm about to confront you on something.
Yeah, sure.
You know, or I'm your boss, or, you know, whatever, I'm a ex-girlfriend. I mean, there's just so many things, and you're like, ooh, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
What's she gonna say to me?
So a lot of that is about interpreting. We are guessing what a character wants from the behaviors they're exhibiting, right? Now the context is simply the worldview, the situation they're dealing with, right? So we're sitting in a room right now. We all have different objectives, and so when the character, so the context is literally just like the plate that you're serving everything on. I compare it like visually. I came up with the metaphor of creme brulee. I just use a visual metaphor where you've got the plate as the context, and then you've got the brulee or the creme. The cream as the subtext, and then the top layer that's burned and scorched, bruleed, is the text.
Oh, that's great.
So the idea is basically what we're seeing is words, right? And those words often are in complete contradiction of actual intention, but in some way we're interpreting those words as a kind of behavior. So most of the time, like for example, it's part of the reason when I'm writing, the last thing I do is write dialogue. That was another thing I learned from Ron Mita. You want to be able to, well, do it however you want. But for me, I like to have the characters' intentions very clear and the conflict that they're going to be facing very clear. And what we're constantly trying to do, there's this one book called Character and Viewpoint, where it talks about how essentially, you know, we're all like chimpanzees in the wild. And when they're in the jungle and they sense that there's a threat, they run away. And the first thing they do, as soon as they feel like they're safe, the very first thing they do is they stop, they turn around to see where the source of danger is. So that's when they're completely engaged. The whole chimpanzee metaphor is basically that we're trying to interpret the intention of things that are around us. So we're projecting what we think that person wants by the way it's behaving. So we're trying to determine whether it's a threat or whether it's safe, whether it's one on our side or against us, that kind of thing. So ultimately what we're looking for with dialogue is we're trying to see if we can believe them. And the most interesting characters are completely unaware of what's actually driving them. You know, like they're, the whole time, like Indiana Jones is going through all of these ridiculous hoops, not really, like the whole time we're wondering, like, why is he taking on these Nazis? Why is he being dragged by a chair just so that like something can make it into a museum? Ultimately, he has this really, you know, stuff that depends how deep you want to go with Indiana Jones, but he has this kind of drive to, it's genuinely emotionally upsetting to him that there would be some betrayal, some misrepresentation of the truth. And that's what's interesting is, so like the whole time he's making all these really bold choices, you think he's kind of this glib, sarcastic professor, but what he's really doing is he's trying to unearth truth, and he's literally putting his body under all his brutality because he wants the truth to be revealed. And that's, you know, and every single choice, you know that because every single choice, whether he admits it or not, has led toward him exposing the truth for what it is.
So, which is better, subtext or context? Because we know the less you sort of tell.
It's like saying which is better, the trigger or the bullet.
Okay, all right. Okay,
You know?
so maybe which is the best to focus on? Maybe I'm misunderstanding some of what because text I get, subtext, yeah, it makes sense when you said you went to take the drink. Well, then I can infer that maybe you're thirsty, or maybe you're using it as a buffer.
Yes, subtext is an expression of the desire.
Okay, right.
And the text is, it's only one means of expressing that desire.
Sure, instead of saying, I'm thirsty, and then but by doing it, it's much more believable, or I realize that you're needing that glass for some reason. But then the context, I think, is where I'm like just trying to figure that out a little bit more. So the context would be...
Okay, so for example, okay, take a simple line. Go ahead, drink it, right? So go ahead, drink it is the text.
Okay.
We can add different subtext to it. So if I say, go ahead, drink it, there's a different subtext. I'm maybe threatening you.
Right.
If I say, go ahead, drink it.
Right.
I'm saying, I don't really care what you do. Right. If I say, go ahead, fucking drink it.
Right.
Well, I changed the text a little bit, but the subtext is totally different. Now, so that's text and subtext. Context is, we're sitting in a bus. I'm holding a gun. This is a clumsy way. I'm holding a gun, and you're holding poison, and I'm holding your child. So now the context is extremely loaded, and then the choice that you're about to make is implicit. And I'm saying, if you don't drink it, I'm going to shoot your baby. So I say, go ahead, drink it. See, the context is the story. The context is a situation you're dealing with. We can come up with a much better, that's just the clumsy off the top of my head kind of thing.
That makes sense.
But the idea is that basically like the text is ironically, because writers tend to overemphasize dialogue so much, the text tends to get too much importance. The most important stuff is the context and the subtext, because the subtext is the intention, the context is the conflict that you're dealing with, the situation you're trying to deal with. So if we're in space and we're flying toward the moon and we know that...
is this gravity, by the way? Or no?
I don't know, I'm just making this up as we go. If we're flying toward the moon and we know that this is, that the only thing that's gonna save us is this little serum, and it could either boil our blood or it might save our lives, and we've just given up and we've been through this whole journey and we're about to open the hatch, and I say, go ahead, drink it. Then we open the hatch. It totally changes the whole context. So that the context is about the situation you're dealing with. Subtext is intention. Text is just the artifact. It's one expression of that desire.